days in time, so they can progress, of course, because every day has a different movement, right? So if you pick, like, for example, with us Monday, Wednesday, Friday, you're gonna do like a squat on Monday and bench press on Friday, competition on Wednesday, right? So if you, of course, like, repeat the movement, if you change every week, it gets tricky to improve, to progress. So that's why. Yeah.
How much are you like eating every day to maintain? Because you must be taking clients through, helping with weights, taking on and off, doing your own training.
At the moment, quite a lot, because I'm still in a bit of a bulking phase. My plan is I'm going to compete ICN bodybuilding end of October. So at the moment, I'm around like 4,000 calories a day.
That's a good healthy amount right there.
It is. Give me good energy.
Yeah,
okay. It's a bit of an extra work. I can tell you that. Like,
a bit of extra work to eat it, plus also to buy it, I'm guessing.
Yeah, exactly. Bit of both. Like eating, like of course, like majority is like 80-90%. We're talking about like quite like not plain, but like quite clean food. So of course it gets a little bit boring sometimes. And and of course even budgeting and everything like is a bit of a job, for sure.
So you're pretty good at meal prep at the beginning of the week then, or?
Man, honestly myself, I got a little bit of my vision on this, right? If I like a lot of variety, but the thing is, if you do have the time, I promote and I ask everyone to change like meals and experiment as much as possible. The thing is, for me, honestly, my day is is pretty crazy. I'm waking up 4 a.m. in the morning, start working at 5, couple of hours break mid-morning, and then I finish like 7:30. So for me, I keep it very simple. I got like my 3-4 meals that I keep rotating around, and very easy to prepare. I prioritize basically rice and potatoes as a carbs, and then I rotate like 2-3 protein around that, and then of course veggies, and then maybe on the weekend I'll do few different meals, but Monday to Friday, man, I keep it simple. It's just efficient for me.
For sure.
Yeah. What about yourself?
I made one of the goals this year to actually do a lot more food prep.
Yeah.
I've always been very reactive with it, but I can just go buy a steak at night time and that be my dinner, and that's it. A steak and egg is like sweet. I'm pretty well sorted at that point.
Same page, man.
And I'm also very happy if I had the same meal in and out, no problems. I look forward to the same meal, like no worries. But I do have the bonus it's both a bonus and a bit of a curse, because I work with my dad. He does love to take us out for lunch during the workday or work week. So, I'm constantly being thrown possible options for food, but you don't know what oils are going in. You don't know the exact sort of makeup of what you're having. Try and steer clear of super oily and try and keep fairly clean with it. But you still never know when you're buying out. So that was one of the reasons for wanting to do a bit more food prep, is even though I don't really need to, I think I'd like to go through the process so that it is one less factor in my life to think about. And it's something I've always wanted to do. So even though I don't feel like I really need to, because again, it takes me 2 seconds to go to the shop, get one T-bone steak for $13, $12, whatever it is, cook that up with an egg, that's dinner sorted, come here in for lunch, dad takes us out for lunch. So there's not a lot of time requirement. There's not a lot of outgoing cash for it. So it's a pretty simple setup already. Having said that, as I said, I will definitely try and get some food prep. My brother and his partner, they're pretty good at doing at least a little bit on Sunday, even if it's for a couple, 2-3 days. So I think at least trying to set yourself up for the week in advance, it seems like a fun little challenge, which once you get it going, I'm sure it's like, oh my God, this is so
absolutely.
easy.
And man, even like secret 101 to save money. Meal prepping is like literally it saves so much money. If you do like a shop once a week, like very well organized and cooking like 2-3 times to a bit of like 3-4 meals at a time, man, you end up saving money. So.
I've just started tracking all my finances.
That's it.
So the number of times I've gone through and I've seen like a one-off shop to the shop, like a quick grocery shop because I've forgotten something, and it always invariably blows out to like $30, $40, $50, and I'm going there for like 1 or 2 items probably, or for like just for the meal that night. So it is funny when you're like, I'm sure I could do that a lot better, and that happens a lot. You're like, yeah, right. So meal prep would help.
I'm big on budgeting and finance, so we can talk about for hours on this stuff.
All right. Well, I need help with it, so we'll get back to it. But I wanted to everyone listening, I guess the reason why I wanted to speak with you today is, I sort of mentioned to you beforehand, that would really like to dive into a little bit more just health specific chats. I think it's going to be relevant to the clients that I see, but it's also just a topic that I'm just interested in and always have been. So from your side, I guess, maybe if you give people a little bit of background about your skill set, your knowledge and education base, where you've come from and where you're at now, I guess.
Absolutely. Well, let's start saying that I'm originally from Italy. I moved here in Australia almost 8 years ago now. Coming like from definitely not a sport family. I'm the only one in the family that always plays sport. My main sport has always been soccer, but I play like a little bit of everything, and also like ski, which I was pretty good, but I end up like to play soccer like decently seriously. And then what I've done, I studied sports science 3 years, and then I've done all the process in basically the gym, right? So I start as like the typical like I don't know even like is a fitness instructor, just going around. There's not the position in Australia, like basically big gym, like typical commercial gym.
Just below personal trainer?
Yeah, just like going around helping people with general stuff, like, but not even doing like programming or nothing. Just move around and like just help people around, newbies especially. Then I start like doing a bit of classes. I've done a bit of everything from like what is called like functional, for whatever that means. Anyway, that's another story. And then like all the like suspension training. So I've done a few like certification, and I started teaching that. And then pretty much like, man, probably like 6-8 months after that, I started doing my first few like personal training, and then I switched pretty much like after a year completely to personal training, both like small groups and one-on-one. I started back in the day like to kind of like set up my own like little group, like 3 or 4, and then of course the one-on-one. And I've done that in a commercial gym for quite big commercial gym for I think 3-4 years. And then instead like a year and a half before moving to Australia, I work with a mate to a more like a personal training studio, and that was like very similar to basically what I do now here. So just like small groups and one-on-one in a semi-private facility.
Okay.
Then moved to Australia. That was 2017. Originally just to learn English, as I never spoken English before coming here.
Pretty good right about now.
Thanks, mate. And so of course I haven't done my job like for a little bit, for about like 9 months.
You couldn't just go in there and just point,
I could do that, but like, I don't know if that was very effective. So of course I worked pretty hard to like learn English, and in the meantime, of course, like I done my work for the visa, all that stuff. To a point that basically my girlfriend said like, I want to stay in Australia. So I said, oh, cool. Probably time for me to go back to my job, because I can't keep doing like farm work or something else for all my life. That's not what I wanted to do. And so I basically translate all my qualification and everything. Then I restarted studying. So I took like a few accreditation in terms of nutrition, both like nationally in Australia and international with Sport Nutrition Australia. And I started working again as a solo personal trainer.
So how long did it take from the moment that you arrived in Australia to the time of getting back into personal training? How long was
that? I started like around like after 10 months. I was doing my first few groups in a few small gyms around Perth. A couple of gyms in Osborne Park where I was taking like 5 to 10 groups a week. And then I've done that for a few months. That for me was a little bit my training, just to speak the language of training, like in a small group, get confident again in English to do my job. And then when I felt like confident enough, I basically start doing a little bit of advertising for personal training and start doing that one-on-one.
So what got you, because a lot of people play sport when they're younger, everyone in Australia that I'm aware of largely, you almost have to go through sport as your primary school into high school, and then a lot of people stick around into it. But then you just have a natural drop-off of a lot of people don't continue on with general fitness and exercise, and then obviously another cohort does. So why did do you have any sense as to why, you're obviously interested in football? Were you getting into the gym specifically for your sport, or was it just something that you were trying to maintain?
No, I think what made me like what might build my curiosity, like in terms of like a gym, has been like that. Of course, like we were doing a little bit of gym work, right, related to soccer, pretty minimal, right. But then, of course, I got my little injuries, right, and then, of course, like in the period of like little injuries and everything, I was going to the gym a little bit more, right. So because the rehab stuff and everything usually like done more like in the gym, especially initial phase, and I got like basically my curiosity has grown, you know, like and I got like curious. I started like going like myself, eating a little bit more weights and learn a little bit more about that. And then when I kind of like didn't really make the cut to play soccer professionally, I realized that I was really interested into like you know like gym and everything related. And then it's been a bit of a kind of like a natural switch for me, like to be honest, yeah.
So did you ever have a break from, you know, remaining fit and active, or do you feel like you've sort of just maintained activity and fitness sort of since playing sport?
No, well, I've got a bit of a break. Like when I moved to Australia, it's been a bit of a shock when I came here. Like in terms of like change everything, right? So like completely different lifestyle and everything. And at the time, I was trying to do a lot of stuff, like need to work because I need to for the money, need to like learn English. And I've been engaged by a football team. I was back in Queensland. And at that time, I was barely able to play soccer. I lost like literally 10 kilos in 6 months because like I was doing so much stuff and probably under eating, like and training like soccer and like and that's probably been my period where I like after the first like 6 months I said, wow, so I need to definitely change a little bit because it's something is not going like direction I want, you know. So that's probably been the period where I really like struggled the most to like be consistent with my fit. And I was playing soccer, so I was still doing something, but definitely I wasn't feeling fit, if you know what I mean, you know. So the feeling was different, yeah.
So yeah, did have at least, because I do find, I think a lot of people who have just maintained some level of fitness and activity, it becomes so much easier to just maintain or to build if you're trying to get stronger or bigger or whatever goals that you're after. And for those who've had like a prolonged break, whether it be years or months or whatever, that, you know, that there's a harder sort of cycle of getting into it and to maintain it and then to finally reap the benefits. So I feel like we're quite fortunate, at least I feel fortunate, that, you know, I've just remained sort of active, even if I wasn't necessarily trying to be super fit and strong at all times. Just having like a base level seems to have really made life a lot easier when trying to get into it.
Totally agree, man. Totally.
Having a look through some of your profile stuff, mostly through like LinkedIn and a few areas that I could sort of find, I saw that you mentioned like within your sort of skill set, you've got sort of skill set of strength training and body composition and movement specialist. I just wanted to get your thoughts on like, how do you sort of think about those three categories? So strength training, body composition, and sort of movement or being a movement specialist. Like, how do you sort of think about those different categories?
Yeah, that's a very good one. Well, it's at the end of the day, like there's a lot of like correlation between all the three, right? When we like that's when I said before, like for whatever functional means, right? So like it's a little bit like a similar concept to me, right? Strength training, of course, like remind immediately to like focus on the strength, right? But then movement, of course, we're talking more about like maybe a lot of people referring more to like flexibility, mobility, this stuff, right? But everything is correlated. Like there's not like, and body composition is a little bit what I see like kind of like what help you to like probably like improve even like faster and quicker and get better performance in terms of both like strength training and like movements, right? So then of course it's always like single case related, right? You can have like people that like might be lacking a lot in terms of like movements quality, but then like naturally they are like very, very strong, right? So in that case probably like you need to move around and I find out ways to, of course, like make them stronger for as much as possible, but in a more like in a way that helps them improve even like other aspect of movement, right? Improving the quality of the movement, or can be other way around, right? You've got people that are very like the movement is very like they're moving very well. They don't have a problem performing like any type of movement. That then at the same time they lack in terms of like strength, or they don't know how to express themselves in terms of like strength and intensity in training, you know. So that's of course it depends. It's a very like we can like go very in details, but the thing is like for me there's a lot of like correlation. It's never like a black and white, you know. It's never like when someone like come to me for training, it's not like, oh, I want to do strength training. Yes, strength training, fine. Like strength training is a lot of things, right? Or like movement, like movement, okay, but like that doesn't mean that we're not lifting like moving weights because like you want to improve your mobility or your movement in general, right? So like, and body composition is a little bit similar. It's like functional to your goal, right? So of course, like if you like for someone that needs to lose clearly like maybe 20-30 kilos, of course that's gonna limit like some form of like movement, like, or some degree of like expressing like strength and work capacity, for example, right? So like it's a lot of correlation between the three.
So you tend to see them as, you know, all the three slices of the same pizza sort of thing.
Correct.
You sort of carve it up whatever you see the person needs most, or what's relevant to that person in front of you, rather than a sort of standard.
Well, at the end of the story, right? Like it's someone come to see me for whatever is the main goal, right? So like we need to work around and find a way to make them achieve like what they want, and then at the same time like introduce and like give them like all the tools to improve even all other aspects that maybe I see that like they need to be improved to reach even their goal. But at that moment when they maybe find out that they want to do one thing, for them is just one specific thing, but all like the other thing is like correlated to, right? So that makes sense.
Yeah, improving that one domain, you get benefits.
Correct, you know, like so give them what they want, but then like in a process that like we can like include like everything we believe like is beneficial for them, right?
Yeah. So. And then for yourself right now, you made the point that you're looking to getting into competition upcoming towards the end of the year.
Yes, correct.
So now that you're moving into, I guess, a competition phase for bodybuilding, so how does that change your framework of how you're training compared to someone that's just trying to get fit and stronger? Like, what's the difference between someone that's training for bodybuilding like you versus, you know, the average person just trying to get healthier? Correct.
So the main difference is, of course, like how many times a week, for example, you train, so the volume of work that you need to do, okay? So that's, and then the diet, probably the two main things, right? Of course, even like the intensity of training is probably different, and the required amount of, for example, cardio and all this stuff they like need probably like to a different level, right? But again, intensity, I think, is one thing that like everyone should learn, like, and that's like what we're trying to do, right? Try to teach people to train like at a good level of intensity, because that's pretty much where like we get the benefit of like training. Of course, like quality movement first, and then like progressive overload. So like training at a good intensity, and then like the main difference is that probably like someone that wants to stay fit 2-3 times a week, probably more than enough. 45 minutes to an hour is there where we honestly recommend like majority of people to start, and then there's always time to add the session.
Increase, yeah.
In my scenario now, I'm looking like I'm getting ready for a competition. I'm training like 5 to 6 times a week, and then I'd probably end up even like training maybe 7 times a week, right? If needed, with maybe one weight session and one cardio session if necessary, maybe once you are like 2 months out. Mm-hmm. So that's probably the biggest difference in terms of training. Nutrition as well, of course. My nutrition has to be like pretty strict in terms of like overall calories, and even like source of food, of course. As closer you get to a competition, as more like, of course, even the source of food like make the difference. Of course, once we're looking into like someone that wants to stay fit, lose a few kilos and all this stuff, there's a more like a degree of flexibility, right? So it's
and by source open. Do you mean, you know, like Australian beef versus, you know, some other country, or what?
You know, like or simple stuff, like you can say like chicken thigh down to chicken breast, right? So of course the chicken thigh is probably like a little bit better, right? Okay, gotcha. Chicken breast, it tends to be a little bit dry. So you know what I mean? But once you are like a month out or something like that, probably you go for the chicken. You need to go for the chicken breast, right? If someone wants to stay fit, way more like a variety in terms of options and everything, right? So
You touched on before, like everyone should learn about intensity. Do you want to give like a little bit of a description or what your interpretation of intensity means?
Yeah. So intensity, basically what we're referring to is like how hard we are able to train, but not how hard in terms of like like sweating or stuff like that. Like are we able to train close to failure with quality movements? Because of course, like it's been like proven, multiple times by science that like in terms of like strength training, we need to stay like, let's say like 1 to 3, 4 reps away from failure to maximize the hypertrophy, like response and everything. And of course, like it's not easy, because our body send us like a signal of like stopping way earlier than what it is, like 1, 2, 3, 4 reps away from failure. So it takes it's a process to learn how to really like express intensity and don't like stop once you like feeling the first like kind of like the typical little burn or the little like fatigue, and you clearly got more, and it's a bit of a process, both like training wise and even like focus, mindset, all this stuff to really get into the game and learn how to progress this stuff.
For someone new, do you recommend staying away from like real hard intensities? Do you sort of tell someone to get into it and go full intensity so that they learn quicker? Like, how do you approach someone first coming into it when it comes to intensity?
Yeah. So the process is starting with like what I initially do is like I just like explore with them and just give them like a bit of a wider range, okay, and see even like how the person is like in terms of like they like to push, they like tend to be a little bit too conservative, and then after that provide them feedback. Of course, like initially, like the goal is not like push them to like 1 rep away from failure. Probably like for the first few weeks, definitely keep like 3, 4, even 5 reps like in the tank, and just make them like learn the movement properly and understand like their personality. So again, like is someone that gonna tend to be like wants to do overdoing it, or someone that tend to be like always like too conservative, and then manage like the cues and the indication based on that. And then following the typical like progressive overload, so at some point you need to start expose them to like, okay, so if we train like for 2-3 weeks at RPE 6, probably we need to move us like a 7, right? So we need to like experience the feeling a little bit more progressively, yeah.
And when you say RPE 6, you sort of mean when someone's sort of rating how difficult
correct,
something is out of 10?
Is a perception in terms of like effort, in a specific set, and we use this scale like 1 to 10. And of course, 10 means like that you can, feeling that you're able to perform like any more reps in that specific set. And ideally, like majority of the time, you want to spend between like a 6 and a 9 out of 10, majority of the time. So
that can be a good way for someone coming into it to kind of roughly judge, that if you're feeling about a 6 out of 10 in terms of effort performed.
Correct.
Or a 7 out of 10 or an 8 out of 10, then that could be a good place to just give a rest there, and then you can slowly build into it.
Correct. The concept is like the weight has to be like challenging enough, like for you to have like the benefit and to give your body like kind of like our body like a reason to like grow and improve, right? But then at the same time, it has to be easy enough that you're able to perform the movement like in a good way, so in a quality movement, right? So all the time.
Yeah, with bones, it's called Wolf's Law, which, I just translate it across, whether it be muscle, tendon, whatever, and that's in order for tissue to adapt, enough stress has to be placed. So if you're not getting to some level of fatigue, then you could pretty well assume that you're not stressing the structures enough in order to create an adaptation. Not that it would be pointless for you to exercise not to fatigue, but if you don't get to fatigue, are you getting as much out of what you're doing? Maybe not.
That's it. Yeah, I agree.
So for yourself, you did mention as well that you picked up an accreditation in nutrition. I'd love to hear a little bit about your thoughts on not only the course, but maybe the current state of nutrition, what we're doing right, what we're doing wrong, just how you tend to think about nutrition. I know it's a big ask to go into that one, but even to begin with, what did you find, or how did you find the course that you did?
Yeah, No, it's a nice question actually. The course that I did, like I think it was a very very good one, very detailed. A lot of like of course like technical stuff, but then at the same time expresses in a way like very understandable, and a lot of practice as well. So the course I actually like I can only recommend it. In terms of nutrition, like I think one of the main issue that we facing constantly is like that unfortunately, like for the way like our brain most of the time works, we all after like a quick and a fix like a solution, which of course leading to like, you know, all this like the famous like fat diet, like really like being across for years and years, and still like these days, you know, there's a lot of people that
there will be another one next week.
Exactly, you know, and because as I always say, like unfortunately, it is not sexy to say to someone, look, this is the work that we need to put in place, like adjust a little bit like your portions, like maybe like counting calories for someone, maybe follow some like form of meal prep for someone else, but the concept is still the same. You know, what are you looking for is maybe lose like half a kilo a week. It depends about like, of course, every situation, right? For 10 weeks and we're down like 5, 6, whatever, 8 kilos, right? Rather than, of course, like what we see constantly like on social media, like lose 7 kilos in 7 days, do the like a juice diet, do the whatever like a diet, right? So that's probably one of the what I see like is one of the biggest thing that we facing. What we're doing right, probably like talking a little bit about social media, right? So probably like what social media expose a little bit more is like a lot of like a variety in terms of like cooking, like even like the famous like fit recipes, stuff like that, that probably like gave a lot of people like an alternative to like eat a little bit better, but still like enjoy some type of food which can be considered like boring food, you know what I mean? Yeah. So that's probably like a benefit overall. Yeah.
Do you think, what do you see changing in terms of nutrition over the next few years, if anything? You know, again, you always have there's superfoods that come out, and then is it calories in versus calories out? Is it more the quality of food? You know, do you have a sense of where you think nutrition is heading at the moment?
Not really, to be honest. Like, I think like at the end of the day, what really works are always gonna be like the same like kind of like boring things like calories in, calories out. It's realistically how it works. I see like, of course, like a big like a trend, and it's similar to the fat diet, you know, like supplements, like is another stuff that like new supplements and new superfoods and stuff like that will probably like keep coming out like week in like every single week. Some are probably more valid, some definitely not, but as we know, you know, supplements is probably like one of the biggest industry and biggest business, so it is what it is, I guess.
Yeah, I thought we'll definitely touch on supplements in a little bit as well. Yeah. Because it is another one of those you can tend to gravitate towards supplements because they do offer, could be your magic pill. This could be the thing that gets you over the line, or like that changes your life completely. And maybe that's the case in some instances, but I think, you know, like a lot of these things that promise a lot with very little effort, very rare will you get everything you always wanted from it. You know, for people that are training, I mean, I actually do like supplements for a lot of different reasons, because I think they can really provide assistance for you when you're missing certain minerals and certain vitamins and things in your own body. I think they can be helpful, but on the whole, are they the first thing to focus on? I would probably argue not. There's a bunch of other things that we would want to look at first. Your sleep, exercise, nutrition would be, you know, like an obvious 3 to have a look at. But
curious enough, you asked me like, what do you like to see more? Maybe what I'd like probably to see more is, I mean, if we really want to improve overall, probably we need to have a little bit more education since like young age in terms of food. You know, that's probably where we still, I feel like, lacking a lot. Probably got better over the years, but still. There's a lot of like, there's a lot of room for improvements in terms of like, you know, just like very young age education in terms of like food and everything related around food, and even like, you know, the benefit of training and all the rest, you know. So
100%. I don't recall any nutrition learning through primary school. Having said that, I'm sure there's a lot that I don't recall, but I don't recall any, you know, all that sort of teaching. But I did hear the other day that Japan seems to be doing a really good job of this.
Good.
Where they will, if a teacher has to study for an additional 3 years to then gain accreditation for nutritionists for the school. So you're already a teacher, then you have to do this extra training. If you do the extra training, you're then in charge of ensuring that all the kids get healthy meals, non-processed, grown from farm, cooked meals every morning, nothing packaged or plastic or whatever. So you're in charge of that to feed the whole school. You're then in charge of teach how the kids get taught about the food that they're now eating in the school, so that by the time that you're out of primary school, you already understand, you know, that this is the type of food to be eating, this is how to be healthy, and this is what the foods give you, whether it be, you know, again, vitamin supplements, macros, whatever it might be. And, you know, straight away you hear that and you go, well, that makes a lot of sense.
It does, yeah.
That seems like...
Sounds like a good process, yeah. Like, and not even that complicated.
No, just need one person, give them a bit of extra training, give them a bit of extra pay, get them to take charge, a couple basic rules in there. All of a sudden, I think you've got a pretty good system. And at least the person that was talking about this, again, sample size of one, but was going around at least one of these Japanese schools. So I didn't see a single overweight kid throughout the entire school. So, you know, that seems like a decent model to maybe look into. Come on, Australia.
Absolutely. Yeah. Let's go, Australia. Come on. We are the country of fitness, so we can do this.
Yeah. And just to tie a little bow around the nutrition side for you, again, I don't want to get into the debate about it at all, but again, you're bodybuilding right now, you've got 4,000 calories that you're taking in from sort of quality sources, or certainly trying to. So you would still say that even calories in and calories out is obviously probably very important. Would you also say that, you know, 4,000 calories of cake versus 4,000 calories of what you take, you know, there's also a difference there?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, the source of food is quite important. You know, like we can calories are like, despite like there's a lot of like calories are all the same, but like they're not. You know, like what is we know like the difference between like a processed food and like whole foods. You know, like the micronutrients and all this stuff. So of course, like the source that we pick in terms of food like can make a huge difference here, right? So like it can even like, man, like it's eating 4,000 calories of like whole foods is even hard, because like of course like nutrition and good food like is more like veggies and stuff like that, so lots of volume like comparing to like, as you mentioned, cakes, right? So like you can eat probably 4,000 calories of cakes like in like like half a cake, you know, which is like a lot, but like still comparing to like 4,000 calories of like some form of like
celery, you'd never get there.
Veggies, fruits and like stuff like that, like it's you know, like definitely different. So like, yeah, absolutely important to have a balance in terms of like sources, like fruits, veggies, like protein, different source of protein, like carbs. So pretty much everything, like a good variety is probably like a good balance, right? Balance is probably an important word for like nutrition. Yeah.
Is that how so you know, someone's coming to you to sort of train up, get healthier, they're looking for some basic nutrition advice. Is that sort of what you tend towards, which is be balanced, here's a rough amount of calories, here's roughly the types of foods you should be looking at? Yeah,
man, sometimes even less than that. Sometimes we don't even like, the first step is not even ask them to kind of like, or give them like a calories specific to follow. Sometimes the first approach is basically like just look into exactly what they're having at the moment a little bit, like just ask them to keep a journal for like 3 days, like with photos, or like just write down what they have, and trying to rebalance a little bit eventually their plate, you know, like and give them a little bit more a structure in the meals, you know, like again, prioritize like maybe a little bit more veggies, maybe a little bit more protein, maybe change some like you know, very sugary like drinks with a little bit more like water and stuff like that, and then eventually like the next step is like looking a little bit like deeper into like calories, so and stuff like that. But the first step is really most of the time like just give them a little bit more an understanding, you know, what they're having, and like little changes like step by step. And most of the time what happens is that the feeling they're gonna have is different, right? So they start feeling a little bit better. They start like maybe sleeping a little bit better, feeling a little bit more energy across the day, and then of course it gets at that point it gets a little bit easier, you know, like once they got some wins, right? Some wins there to do the next step if of course like it's necessary and they want to. But man, I experience all the time like some people like they just start training and little changes in the in the plate and in the portion and stuff like that, and they're getting like some results, like maybe a few kilos down, feeling better and more than enough, you know, like and fitness grow, their fitness like grow from there.
Trying to make fitness sort of addictive, you know.
In a positive way, of course, right? In a positive way. So the again, like need to find the balance, right? So the person that wants to be a little bit fitter and maybe lose a few kilos don't need to cut off the enjoyment of like having a dinner out with the wife or the husband, or having like a meal with the kids. No reason to do that. Like it's more like probably the all around that need to be adjusted in the daily things, and not like the enjoyment of having like a meal with family, right? Where you having like maybe a piece of cake, right? Nothing wrong with that, right? So it's just like the balance again.
Particularly if it's a good cheesecake. Then,
correct, yes. I'm not a big fan of like desserts, I have to tell you that, but I don't mind a good cheesecake,
So you talk with a lot of people, you know, you see a lot of people, and I'm sure some come and go. You know, for myself as well, I speak to a lot of people, and I do get a lot of people telling me that they're keen to get back into exercise, or they're contemplating bringing it back in. And I'm always wondering like how many really take up the mantle. You know, I'm guessing it's, if I'm lucky, 50% of the people that sort of say it. Do you sort of tend to see the difference, or what is the difference between people that talk about it versus the people that actually start to do it? Do you notice any difference between those types of people?
Yeah, and that's a very interesting one. So I think like you know, like it's the main thing is like I'm not a big believer on like in terms of like what is motivation, right? A lot of people like when I talk to a lot of people say like I don't feel motivated, or like I feel I need like the motivation to do it. Realistically, what I've seen is like motivation is taking actions, right? So like it's you see like the people that like wants to do it and start a journey and stick to it and like make improvements is the people that basically like day by day start taking action different than what they're doing this day, right? If you reach a point where like you don't feel like a fit, you're not happy with yourself, right? In the main process is probably like going through like, okay, what I've been doing like in the last, I don't know, 1 year, like 2 years, whatever that is, and start taking some small action daily, they're like gonna change that, right? And then usually what I see all the time is like little action after little action leading to like more in terms of like, oh, okay, now I feel like I can do like the next step. Now I feel I can do that. Now I feel like I want to train an extra time, right? And then like put all together, then give them like the results, or at least like some form of like improvements that they can see immediately, you know. And then probably at that point we say like, oh, now I'm feeling motivated. But you know, all the process is probably like the taking action, basically do something, you know. Like of course like never like gonna be like 100% of the people that like come to us like will have like the same like kind of like process. So it's, as you said, probably like the main difference is like the difference between like talking to it, which is probably like a kind of like instill in a pre-contemplation phase, you know, like, and try to like still understanding yes or no, am I want to do it this one or not, and the person that basically gonna do it, and then find around themselves like all the right like community, environment, situation that even give them the extra push in the hard situation, you know, because then of course you hit the bump at some point, right? And probably that stage is where you need the most like a coach, a mentor, a friend, family, like they support you and all this stuff to just keep going, you know, like, and that's it.
So yeah, for yourself, you tend to find that motivation isn't the thing that sort of gets people going, but it's just the pure fact of trying to find very, very small things to get the needle moving in the right direction? What are some of those small things that you tend to see people just start with to help get those wins?
Man, like the one of the first thing probably like to us, right, is when someone taking action to actually like come to the gym and start the process. That's already like a small action, right? And then from there, like, okay, now we got your let's put a plan in place. So let's put down for you, like, I don't know, we agree on like 2-3 session a week, whatever that is, this specific day, this specific time. Let's rock up to the first session. Let's rock up to the second session. Until now, you're doing like you're doing zero walking during the day. Just like walk to the coffee place where you're going to walk instead of like taking the car or stuff like that. Like walk 10 minutes a day, 15 minutes a day, right? Little wins, man. Little wins, little action daily is building it up like quick. That's probably, yeah.
Slowly but surely, just getting people feeling better about themselves.
Absolutely.
And just getting those wins in. So again, for yourself, I'm always interested by the question of, how do you get more people active? How do you get essentially, let's just say, the country of Australia healthier and healthier? So put on or I'll imagine right now that you've been elected president, prime minister, total power and control over the country. What do you do in order to, again, try and get more activity and health into people?
That's a big one. Well, again, we're going back to what a little bit we talked before, right? So the first thing probably would be like a little bit more education about like all the benefit in terms of like training, all the education, a little bit more education since you engage in terms of like nutrition. And then like actually Australia I think is a pretty good country in terms of like everything that is set up and now like available is like sports in general and like facilities, like park, like with some equipment to use and stuff like that. So we definitely probably like it. I think like we're definitely a good country for that. What else like more specifically can we do? I don't know. There's always been said like, for a long time I heard this one like saying that like we should like give like gym like free, some form of like more, but I don't think actually that would help like in terms of like getting more people in, right? Because like of course still it has to be like all the process done in terms of like make them a reason and more education to people to do it rather than like just probably give it away for free or something like that, which probably won't lead too much, like rather than of course like the portion of people that like might really like need the help in terms of like a financial help to like do some form of activity, then of course like probably like in that case might be a benefit. 100%.
So you're not going to get the guns out and force people into gyms with that. I mean, that's kind of I feel the way that I fell into it again is just luckily from a young age sport and activity was always big. Mum and dad were always fit and sporty. So it was always just, you didn't have to think about it. Didn't ever have to go and seek out fitness and exercise. It was always just a natural thing. And I think making that as normal for people and for kids, I tend to agree with you, would probably have the greatest effect. Again, maybe if you pointed guns at everyone to go into the gym for 1 hour a day, that might work, but it might have some other issues along with that as well.
Absolutely.
So as you're getting people in, they're starting to get a bit of momentum. They're starting to get a few wins on the board. What do you find has people fall off the track? So they're getting involved, it's going really well, and then you must have seen people again come and go for lots of different reasons. What are some of those big reasons that you tend to see people falling off of the track and the goals?
Yeah, well, probably the biggest one are like work related, family related, some like form of like maybe changing jobs, stuff like that are probably the things that makes people like fall off like the track like easily. What else? Are
there ways that you try and recommend to counteract those sort of big lifestyle changes, which possibly lead someone to drop their health concerns or their priority of health drops down a little bit? Is there anything that you tend to try and get people to or recommend so that people try not to fall off?
I think again is like it's I see like happening a lot in probably when people is still in a very early like phase in terms of like developing like the habits of like training, like the routine and all this stuff. When like there's some big changes and you're still trying to figure out like how to make like training part of like your daily routine and or like stuff like that, then like there's a more like probably like the more percentage of people that like tend to like follow this way. Again, probably one of the biggest thing is like is the meaning behind training, like what's the drive, what drives people to train and like getting fitter, right? When someone I always find out like when someone got like a strong drive, which can be like be a better dad or like doing it for the family, or you just like really like something happened in your life and you say like, no, I don't want this one anymore, I need a change. In that case, probably like not really like, maybe like can happen something in your life that make them like change the dynamics of training for whatever reason, but not completely like falling off like the track, right? But majority of the time when that happens is something like work related, family related, and probably like they still in a stage where like they're not ready to handle that much probably like stuff altogether, and the first thing they like probably fell off is like fitness, right? Because realistically in the scale of priority of their life is still not like at that point where they fully understand like the benefit, right, in even like all the other aspects of their life.
How long do you how long do you think it takes on average for a person to really build the habits enough that they keep health up there in the priorities? Like when you see people that gone through your gym that have been around for 3 months versus 6 months versus 9 versus 12 versus longer, do you have a sense of how long you think it takes for someone that you don't have to worry about them falling off anymore?
I think like I think between like 6 and 12 months is probably a good period of time where like majority of people, like if they passing the first like 3-6 months, and then they of course like maybe like usually what happens is like after 3-6 months you might even like start developing some form of like that you want to achieve a little bit more, right, in terms of goals, and that can be like a bit of more an extra drive. But usually like what we see is like for people that like do the job consistently for like 6 to 12 months, then very rarely they completely like fell off the track out of nowhere, like then of course if something really like crazy happened, then everything can change. But still like more like definitely like more like a routine, it's more like a regular thing for them after 6-12 months, right?
So if I come to you, I'm looking to get ripped or at least certainly lose extra kilos on me, but let's say I'm trying to get ripped or something like that, how do we start the process?
The main thing, the first thing is like we do like a consultation. So we do like a full like a consultation, both like from a nutrition and a body composition standpoint, and then like a movement assessment and everything to start training. We put down a plan in terms of like, of course, based on your lifestyle and your goal, and understanding if the two aligns, because a lot of times, like unfortunately, like goals of like, a lot of people don't really align with the lifestyle they have, right? So for example, I don't know, if you have like 4 kids and you're working like 80 hours a week, probably not much chance that you can train like 6 times a week and you can get ready for a bodybuilding competition, right? So that makes sense. So
challenge
probably
accepted.
Yeah, exactly. So try to like set some plan that like makes sense, like and in both ways. And
so you're trying to help them set achievable goals.
Absolutely, man. We do a lot of work in terms of like a set expectation and goals like aligned with their lifestyle, because it's again, the first thing is like slow and consistent. It leads to more results rather than like walk in, be very like full on, and you say like, oh yeah, I want to train like 6 times a week. You do it for 2 weeks and then you realize, fuck, like I can't manage it with my life, like train 6 times, and you completely like stop. you didn't bring, like, you didn't like reach much in 2 weeks, like training 6 times rather than someone that trained like 6 months for 2 times a week, right? So that's probably like the first thing that we do is a lot of work in terms of like set the expectation and set like a very like a manageable goal. And then like, the main thing is after that a lot of accountability from us in terms of to keep them on track and week by week, and we see that like probably that process helps. Yeah.
So when someone is starting up, and we briefly touched on supplements beforehand, and one of the things I wondered was, when you are starting off with a new training regime, are you someone that would recommend, get into a protein powder, get into creatine? Do you tend to get people to consider those things early on, or wait a little while? How do you think about introducing people to supplements?
Again, like single case related, right? So once if there's a case where like since day one we were looking a little bit more specifically into like eating some specific like target macros, target protein, and for example protein powder can help because like they only do like 2-3 meals a day, so they will really struggle to reach like X amount of protein per day. Then probably like I would recommend like something like a protein powder. Some other cases, definitely not since day one, probably not needed. At the end of the day, protein powder is like how to like it's something, it's a supplement that helps you like reaching like a protein target, right? It's not like not everyone need like to eat to drink a shake of proteins, right? So like it's or the typical like have a drink of a shake of protein after like 10 minutes otherwise of your workout, otherwise you don't make any gains, right? Yeah. It doesn't really work that way. So no, it's not like again, it's not a template that everyone follow the same, right? It's very different. So not the one. Then of course, like something you mentioned, creatine, right? Creatine again has been studied that like has pretty much only benefits in pretty much everyone, both like males and females.
Particularly females, right?
Correct, but mainly like brain function, cognitive and all this stuff. So definitely like I recommend a lot of times creatine, 100%.
So what do you yourself take at the moment? So again, you're probably a bit different from the normal population because you're bodybuilding.
Yeah,
but do you take anything?
I just take creatine, man, some fish oil in the morning, and protein just to top up my protein like daily. But that's it.
How come the fish oil?
The fish oil just to have like some good fats like in the morning, like again cognitive like brain function stuff like that. Pretty helpful. But it's no more than that. Yeah.
Again, do you recommend oil? Like when would you potentially recommend something like fish oil tablets?
Sometimes I do recommend it where like doing a bit of a screening in terms of diet, I realized that maybe my lacking like some good source of like fats, so that it's probably like easier like supplements to like change a little bit that and improve that. Other than that, probably like a lot of cases probably I don't even recommend it now.
Sure. You've worked, as you said before, you started off as just like a gym trainer where you weren't really like doing a personal training, and then you got into personal training and coaching, and I believe you've even done some online stuff, and now you're and now you're the gym owner, and so now you're doing kind of everything across the board when it comes to gyms, to the point now that you're running one as well. What is that process? How does it feel being now, having gone from literally the bottom of the food chain, I guess, in terms of what you can do within a gym, to now operating, running, and still coaching within a gym? What's that like, becoming business and gym owner?
Yeah, I think like personally, I still believe like all the like training, all the like things that I've done really helped me like give me like, first of all, I've seen like hundreds and hundreds of different people like moving, right? I got the chance to train hundreds of people, and then gave me like a good like understanding of like how different people moves, like, and then like solving like myself like some issue in terms of like how people move, stuff like that. So like give me a lot of like what is called like time under the bar, right? So I've done a lot of repetition, right? Yeah. And then of course like give me a good overview. Then of course I I missed a little bit at that point, like all the business side of the gym. Like, so then that's it's been like more like once I started working as a solo personal trainer, then of course I had to focus even more, a little bit more on make it work in terms of like, you know, financially and understanding a little bit more all that part. So I consider like my journey, like what I probably like eventually like recommend to like a lot of people in terms of like getting a lot of time under the bar before like you decide eventually to open a gym, especially if we're talking about like a personal training studio where you still actively coaching. You need to be like a little bit like a, you know, like a leader, both like technically and like under a lot of aspects, you know. I mean, you can't really develop that. I think without like a lot of time under the bar and of course a lot of studying and everything, you know, like, and you mentioned before online coaching, right? So like I do a little bit of line, but these days is a little bit like, you know, you see like very, very young coaches like having even like great success online. And I get it, like that's probably like where we're moving towards. But I don't know how like at 18, 19 years old, you know, you can have that experience like you able to train like, you know, like people like just on purely online, you know, when probably in your life you've seen like maybe 50 people moving like face to face. It's a bit tricky to get it for me, but again, I'm a bit old, so like might be just my old opinion, you know, like. But.
So given that you have done some online, it sounds like your advice might be similar to people either considering going online or currently working as an online PT or trainer or coach. So I'm guessing your advice would be a bit similar. It's, you know, try and actually get as much face-to-face time and as much repetitions, I guess, of training with people in order to be successful in that domain. Is there any other tips or things that you found helped you as you were building up your online coaching? And I'm not sure how much you're doing now, given you're running a business as well on top. But, you know, are there any things that you found, this was really helpful and changed the way that I started my online stuff?
I think like if you want to propose yourself in terms of like in the online world, you know, like the first thing is probably like you need to have like social proof, right? So you need to like probably like prove like that what do you do, you know, like you probably like your results, and at the same time at the end of the day, people by people, you know, so probably you need to try to express yourself in a very genuine way. Try to don't like probably be like or replicate like the fitness influencer or something like that. Just probably be yourself, you know, like and probably you'll find your niche of people that like you, the way you talk, the way you move, the way like of course you talk about like, you know, nutrition, training, the way like you approach your client because you're showing like the results you get and stuff like that. But again, I'm not an expert in the online world. So like what I personally done online is has always came from like my face-to-face PT that then for whatever reason, work reason, changing country and has moved like to online. But I never really like pushed my online side of the business like fully online or try to get like much traction there. Yeah.
So I did see as well that last year you completed a photo shoot for your own. I'm guessing it was for like a bodybuilding / maybe to gym content style.
Yeah, it was just a photo shoot that one that we organize a couple of times a week for in the gym. Yeah, with members. Yeah.
So I'd like to know, because I mean you looked ripped in that, by the way, but I'd like to know a little bit of the background, or at least behind the scenes in preparation for that photo shoot. You know, are you doing anything different to your normal routine, and or was to prepare for that? Was there editing at all involved? Like, I guess, what's the photo shoot process like? Because it must be a little bit of a daunting thing.
The photo shoot process was like a new thing for me as well. I never done a photo shoot before. In terms of the day of the photo shoot, I found it like doing it with the members. So like with a part of like 3, 4, 5 guys of our crew. I found it actually pretty enjoyable because like for us, we went through the process like almost like pretty much together, right? Like, even if I was their coach and I was getting coached too by another guy from our gym, you know. So and the process has been pretty fun. Then on the day, everything was new. So like, of course, professional lights, like smoke, and then of course the tent the day before. And I went home and I couldn't even sit on the couch. And my girlfriend was like crazy with me because everything I touched got like, of course, like the tan color, you know. So like it's that's like it's been all very like for me like pretty enjoyable and fun and new to experience. In terms of like training stuff like that, and I mean like pretty similar to what we talked before. Like of course like the last especially the last 4-6 weeks out of that, when you try to really achieve like the top performance, of course like they are pretty strict, right, in terms of nutrition, training, daily steps, and all this stuff. Like definitely like in a physical situation where like it's not like the representation of like probably health in terms of like like when you are like such a low body fat percentage is not what I consider like a health range and what I consider like a health situation, right? Because you start even like you might lacking like sleep due to like the low calories, stuff like that. So definitely the last few weeks is a bit hard. You need to be really like focused mentally to just finish the job, get the job done, and then like really enjoy a little bit more. So
how much prep time was there sort of preparing for the photo shoot, getting your body ready?
That one was with the members. We done like 16 weeks of prep, and I done 16, okay. Yeah, and I've done a little bit longer than that. I've done 20 weeks. 20 weeks in that case, prep. Yeah. I started a little bit earlier, yeah.
Okay, so if we were to do a photo shoot right now, how different would it look?
Right now,
yeah,
if
right
you
now.
Do it, or if I do it?
If you did it, so if we did another photo shoot, the same sort of lighting and things, is your body shape quite different? Do you like the difference between that
massive.
photo shoot? You're absolutely ripped, right? And then if you were to do it right now, so you would normally be carrying around a few extra kgs.
Oh man, massive! Like I was photo shoot day. I think I was 74 kilos.
Right.
But like around 5% body fat.
And roughly, how tall are you?
I'm 182, 181, yeah. Okay. So. And right now, of course, I've done a bit of a bulk period now. I'm about 88 kilos. So there's like 14 kilos difference, and
huge difference.
Huge difference, man.
Yeah.
And body fat percentage is like clearly higher now. Like I'm probably around like 15, 17%. Yeah.
Because I assume that you had to do a bunch of prep for it, but there was a part of me that was going, but if you're training day in, day out with like all these groups of people, plus you're having to do all the coaching stuff, you're constantly active. I was like, maybe you're not that far off being that ripped all the time. I was like, man. Like
no, it's different.
Yeah, I figured like any of those shoots, the amount of work required to get the body prepped for that is quite large, and I guess that was what I wanted to get across to anyone listening, that when you see those photo shoots, you have no idea the amount of work that's been put in to get your body sort of ready for that.
Definitely. And also like I don't know, like, but considering like the amount of hours that I do like coaching and everything, being like that like low in body fat and calories and everything is not sustainable for a long time. You can do it like I did it like last year. It was like the last 4-6 weeks pretty hard, but like I couldn't imagine myself stay in that condition like 365 a year, like and still coaching and working like 12 hours a day. Like
just exhausted.
No, definitely not sustainable.
Maybe not without at least some extra help in the background if you really
exactly. Yeah. But different scenario there.
So we've just got a couple questions to go. One, as an average, so I just wanted to go through just a quick brief overview of like the average day in the life of Alex, or possibly week, but I figured day would probably be close to the week. So what does an average day look like for you, both in terms of work and training? And
absolutely. Wake up pretty early, like about 4 a.m. I do my first breakfast, and I go to work. I'm in the gym about like 4:45, 5 a.m. Depends about the day. And I usually like some mornings I do groups, early mornings. Some mornings I do like a personal training, but usually is coaching the first like 4 to 6 hours in the morning. Then a bit of admin, which I try to do it like more towards mid morning and not early morning in case I got some gaps, because I don't like to be behind the screen like really 5 a.m. in the morning, not my jam.
Yeah.
And majority of the day, like in the morning, I'm finishing about like around 10, 11. At that point, I train when I do have my training, about like 90 minutes, 2 hours, 60 minutes, depends about the session. Lunch, bit of rest, and then usually restart at about like 3:30 p.m. Until 7:30, and then home, dinner, and a bit of a chill time, and bedtime about 10:30. Yeah.
10:30, you're in bed.
Yeah, my sleep is not great, and it's never been, to be honest. And of course, like the routine and finishing 7:30 doesn't help because of course I get home by 7:38, and then you still have to have dinner, and then of course like going to bed straight after dinner is pretty tough, So
middle of the day, so you do tend to have a bit of a block of time off to do what you need to go do.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. So
bit of a time off. The 11 to 3 usually is 10, 11 to 3. Yeah, depends about the day. Yeah.
Is that Monday to Saturday?
That is Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday for me at the moment.
Okay.
Wednesday is my day where I do basically half a day. So I do like just the morning, and I usually finish around like 12, 1 p.m. Sometimes can be even 11. And then I got the afternoon off. And then I normally do even a Saturday morning, like 5-6 hours coaching in the morning. Yeah.
And then in terms of just keeping the business running, paying members, bringing in, is it what you expected? Is it more difficult than you expected running the business?
It's the hard part of the business, to be honest with you. I find it like more like constantly working with the team, in terms of like keeping a high standard and like try to make like the team like working like be like always at the top level, and keep them like of course keep them motivated, keep them focused, and stuff like that. And then of course make sure the gym run well organized in terms of like all the events and the community and stuff like that. Then other than that, to be honest, like I don't really like the business, of course, like that we open, like is we've been around 8 years, right? So of course we got a bit of like we got other facilities in Perth. So once we open, we haven't really struggled too much to get like around the number of members that we need to be like to be comfortable. So that side I found that I thought would have been a little bit harder, but actually went pretty smooth. The hardest part is been like, of course, is the managing the team, and like of course a few changing in stuff, because like people leave, change jobs, so you need to replace them and make sure the community get across like the new coach and everything like very well. And then of course there's period of the year like this one where we're getting new members, where there's a lot of focus on make sure like the onboarding process is smooth, like the groups run smooth, and the community like getting like again along together very well. So, but yeah, that's probably
we don't have to talk numbers, but comfortably profitable. So someone looking to open up a PPS gym maybe in the future at some point, have you found the experience so far, like are you comfortably profitable?
We are profitable. Comfortably depends really what you mean by that, because like it's still fitness industry, so like it's the margins in the fitness industry are not like tech margins, right? So like it's they are like relatively small, but we can say that like we are at the number that we want, so we are like profitable. Yeah.
Very nice. Last couple of things. So it's 2025 now. We're a few weeks into it. Have you set some goals for the year for both either yourself personally or the business? Is that something that you tend to do?
For sure. We set some goal for the business in terms of like, of course, like the main goals that we set is optimize the process in terms of like photo shoot, like competition, in-house competition, and interclubs, social events. So like having a little bit more like a standard and like a calendar for all this stuff to make probably helps even the members to contribute more to all these events. Then of course we set some like financial goal for the business as well. And for myself, the main thing is in terms of like fitness is the competition in October, of course. And then I got my family coming over like towards the end of the year, so I would like to be able to organize a good holiday with them as well, so and enjoy it. So yeah,
very nice, very cool. Well, that'll be exciting for the family to come around, see what you've been doing over here down there.
Exactly.
So basically, the last one that I wanted to go through was: do you have, I guess, sort of a final message at all for anyone that is either struggling to maintain, you know, an exercise regime or is struggling to get started into one? Is there any just message that you think might be helpful to someone out there?
I think the main thing is like reflect on like how you feel, you know, like when you probably like exercise consistently and you got the routine, you know, a majority of the time you probably feel better. And then of course, like if you're not in a situation where you feel like supported in your environment, or you feel like you need a mentor, you need a coach, you know, like you need a group of people to training with that support you, probably like work hard to find the place that like is able to provide the right support that you need, and try to stick to it as much as possible, because you're gonna get the benefit 100%.
Cool. And for anyone that's looking to find you guys, how do people find you?
They can find us online. We're Physique Performance Specialist Subiaco, and then of course our facility is A Street 105, and yeah.
Cool. Thank you very much for your time, mate.
Thank you, Harry. Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Until the next time.
Until the next one. Thank you.